Raise it up. Raise it up. Chat Pro.
We have a very good relationship.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the pregame show. We're gonna take your questions live. I'm here with Rob. What's up, my man?
Hello.
For the first time. I'm excited to do this, get to know you better.
Absolutely.
So while we're chatting, I'm gonna give you the stage for a few minutes, but drop your questions in the chat. We'll take the best ones. No pressure. It's only your first time. And we'll take your best questions and answer them here in the chat for you guys. So if you have questions for Rob or myself, drop them in the chat here. So what's up, man? Welcome. Where'd you fly in from?
Detroit. It's a lovely city. It's actually a very nice city. A lot of people give Detroit a bad name, but it is nice. I live about 30 minutes north of it, Royal Oak. You know, it's actually a really nice city. So.
Is there a poker scene?
Online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
No, I haven't played live in a while. I fly out to Vegas quite a bit. Private games, North Dakota private game, and then. Sweet. What was that big win tournament they had? Was it 10 or 15K? I forget the buy-in.
Yeah.
I'm an idiot, to be honest. Hi, Chad.
So for
your
people,
friendly neighbor.
It's your first time here on the show. I know obviously you have a YouTube, a training site. I want to hear about that. What give us a 30-second rundown. Like where did you come from, your poker background?
Oh, I've been playing
Introduce
poker.
yourself to Hustler.
Yeah. I've been playing poker for a long time. 2009 is kind of when I started. 2010 is when I took it very seriously. Actually, I have a pretty good bet, or a pretty good story. I made a bet with my mom my second year in college. This was 2010. If I can make $50,000 in the next quarter. So every 3 months, if I can make $50,000 that quarter, could I drop out of college and take 1 quarter off? With the stipulation, I had to make $15,000 every quarter. Well, I dropped out. I made it that week. I got lucky and won a tournament.
Oh, that's amazing.
For $55,000 that week.
That's
and she thought, I call her and I was like, yo, I fucking hated college. I probably shouldn't cuss. I did not like college. Perhaps I wasn't very good at it.
Yeah.
Not shocking. I was playing poker from like 5 p.m. to like 7 a.m. and I would just skip all my classes. So of course my grades weren't great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I made the bet. My mom honored it. And then the next quarter I had another good one. And then Black Friday happened.
Oh, wow.
So then I moved down to Mexico and then.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
And then the rest is kind of history. And I met a lot of great people. Deeb and everything moved down there. And yeah, it was 3 of us at the start. And then when I left in like 2016, maybe 600, 700 people down there.
Wow. So it's like a little community of poker players.
Little.
Yeah, I mean a whole community.
You couldn't even go
like
anywhere without meeting a poker player.
And what city was this?
This Playa del Carmen.
Okay, that's sweet. So your background's mainly in tournaments then. When did you switch to cash games, or do you still mainly play tournaments?
So, yeah, so we moved to Europe. We were going to do a little Euro tour in 2014. I tried to play the tournaments, man, but I'm just an old dude. And I'm not as old as I look, just FYI chat. I'm only 32, but I feel like I'm 80.
Poker does that.
Yeah, like I'm the oldest 32-year-old of all time. And so when we moved to Europe for 6 months or 8 months or whatever it was, I tried to play the nights, because it's tough, man. I respect to those guys who play all night and then go to sleep at like 7. It's hard. It's really hard. So I started playing cash, 2-5 Zoom and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm not so bad at this. And that was pre-solvers and stuff like that. And did just really well and kind of stuck with it. I still play cash. I still play tournaments. Variety is nice.
Yeah, for sure. That's cool, man. So what's up with, you started a training site. Is your site?
Yes, my site.
When was this?
Okay, so basically what happened was I had a lot of...
Plug the site. What's the site?
ElitePokerCoaching.com.
Okay,
so basically what happened was I was streaming, right? And
on Twitch?
On Twitch.
Tournaments?
Interesting, yeah. Okay. Somebody gave Phil Nagy my contact. And I went on this like crazy run on ACR. I was winning like every high roller on there. Sick. In tournaments. Somebody gave Nagy my info and he said, you should get on Twitch. You start averaging 100 people a stream or whatever, right, then I'll hire you, right? And this is at the time they only had 2 sponsored pros. And I said, I don't know, I've always been kind of a private dude. Like I play a lot of like private games and stuff, and I didn't really want to like
totally different game.
Out myself too much. And yeah, it's just different, right? I'm living in Vegas and all that stuff. Anyway, I'm like, you know what? Sure, because they just shut down my Airbnbs. I had a bunch of Airbnbs in Vegas, right? So it became illegal.
Yeah, of course.
So I was like, well, what's the next venture, right? So I was like, well, Sponsored Pro sounds okay. Let's see if I can make it work. I started, streaming. slow start. But in COVID, I had this like crazy run on WSOP. Like I was actually already a sponsored pro because I had another run
on WSOP.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
So during the COVID, I was already hired for like maybe 6 months, 8 months at a time, something like that. But I got like the second tournament I won, first person ever to win a bracelet on Twitch, which
that's sick.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
next tournament I got like 4th. Then I got like a 9th, a 12th, like a 15th, and 18th. It was just I was player of the year until some guy like won back-to-back tournaments, which was like sick, like good for him because I was just disgusting. And then when I realized I had a bunch of people that wanted one-on-one coaching, I was like, what if I just created a site instead of doing a lot of one-on-one coaching?
Yeah.
And that's basically how it started.
Like one-to-many instead of one-to-one. Yeah, you
exactly.
can reach more people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that's the same concept for the YouTube.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So leading up to the YouTube, we had this Triton competition, this 100K competition, and I would post hands on my Twitter that were like fairly, not overly complicated, but a lot of people were opinionated about it.
Yeah,
and then I realized
those are great hands.
Every one of these hands got like 100K views, and I was like, wow, people really like this kind of stuff. What if I were to post some things similar on YouTube? And I was like, wow, people really like this kind of stuff. So what are we, 6 weeks in, something like that? And I'm a small channel, I only have 5,000 subs,
yeah.
but
it gradually then all at once.
Yeah, but I almost got 1 million views in 6 weeks. That's pretty cool.
It's amazing, dude. Congrats. You're on a roll. Nice job.
Yeah.
So you had a story about Moneymaker that you wanted to share.
Which one? I got a lot of stories about Moneymaker. Me and Moneymaker's history goes back a long time, and I'm talking a long time.
By the way, Moneymaker is on the show tonight, for those that didn't see the graphic.
He might deny it, but don't let him.
Okay.
So the first time I ever met Moneymaker,
yep.
This is the day before I'm going to the PCA. Okay, we're playing, I feel like it was the Super Tuesday or something big on PokerStars. We play this heads-up match that lasts forever. So, and PokerStars I don't know if they still have it, but they had this feature where you could see how many people were watching. There's like 700 people or 1,000 people watching, and we just battle it out for like an hour and a half. I win it for maybe 30 or 40,000. I'm like, I usually don't fly first class, but I'm flying to the Bahamas the next day. I'm like, had a good, I'll treat myself, upgrade to first class, right? And I sit down. Well, sure enough, next to me is Moneymaker. And he doesn't know who I am, right?
Right. He doesn't know that he played you last night.
He has no damn clue.
That's hilarious.
So I said, oh man, I was watching that heads-up match last night. That was pretty crazy. He goes, yeah, that guy's a tough son of a bitch. I go, yeah, he is a tough son of a bitch, isn't he? Pretty good, right? And he goes, you son of a bitch. And I said,
that's funny.
I said,
that's great.
Said it was a good match, buddy.
Yeah. That's small world.
So then when ACR hired him, Nagy called me and said, I think we're going to hire Moneymaker. And I said, oh, wow, I didn't know he was leaving Stars. And, because I guess they've been parting ways for a little bit at that point. And I said, oh, man, that's awesome. Because we've always had, ever since then, we talked in chat on Stars and stuff. But then I hadn't played Stars since like 2017 or something. So.
Wow.
And now we're just attached at the hip, essentially.
Yeah, small world. Well, you'll get to battle again here tonight. Is this your first time playing cash together?
Besides heads up online, yeah.
Right, yeah.
A little bit of heads up just for like fun.
Yeah, I think this is our first time playing cash too. So
yeah. It's
cool. I mean, 20 years ago, literally, basically now, Moneymaker wins the main event, and I was, 16 watching, in high school, dreaming about being a professional poker player. It's just sort of surreal to be here on the biggest stage.
That's essentially when I started as well. So that I would have been, because we started playing. I mean, you probably the same, just playing home games with your buddies and stuff like that, $5 games.
Right, totally.
And that's what got me into
school.
it, right? Yeah, exactly. That was like our thing. Like 3 nights a week, we at Timmy's house or my house.
Yeah, exactly.
Or someone else's house, and it's fun.
I think our stories kind of represent the generation that came up watching Moneymaker and being in awe of that generation of people that were on TV at that time.
For sure. Someone so bad
anyone
could win.
I just think,
Moneymaker's fun.
His luck was like obviously he played well in the main too. He made a great bluff against Farha, all those things. He played a lot of hands really well, but some hands went well. And so the collective poker community got lucky.
I should go back and it is very
he
lucky.
Hit an ace against Ivy, for example.
It is very lucky for us. Yes.
Like I'm really grateful to be here today with Moneymaker because it's like I just like looked up to that moment and I watched that tape so many times.
Just don't tell him any of this because like his ego is already so high.
Oh really? I was definitely gonna tell him. Yeah. Let's take a question from chat because I'm sure chat has questions for us. Ryan, what do we got? We'll take a few questions here from you guys. Drop them in chat too. I know we've been going back and forth here. We haven't acknowledged chat. So we're grateful you're here, Chat Pros. Thanks for being here. And questions for Rob, myself, let us know. And one second. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on people saying, or your thoughts if you think this is true, poker being less fun today because solvers make it more robotic, so to speak? You know,
it depends. I would say it's definitely not less fun. I mean, look what we have. Like, poker content is out of control. I mean, we have the Hustler, we have the Lodge, we have the Triton, we have all these YouTubers, and me included. If you ever said I was gonna like create a channel a year ago, no shot, you know? Like, poker's very fun in that sense because people are like, Doug's back, you know? Like, people are making really, really great content.
There's a lot of content.
The streams are just out of control. Like, this is...
Stream quality has gotten so much better.
Yeah, like, these cameras are nuts, right? So, like, I was never one to watch streams. Now I'm never one to miss a Friday. Because, like, all right, what's going on Friday?
Yeah.
Well, it's all right. You guys go out. I got Hustler stream to watch. You know what I mean? So it's.
But do you think that that's related to? Like, could that have happened without solvers?
Okay, so what?
Like that's more of a at least to me, that's more of a phenomenon of.
It's
like
a personality
media,
thing, right? So like,
coming into poker.
You can be very good at poker,
right,
and still have a really good personality and make games fun. It's really not that hard to do. I've been invited to every private game in the absolute planet. I swear, you know, and. They don't care if I'm a professional or anything like that. They just care about having a good time. And if you're doing like the stare down thing and you're sitting there randomizing
the tanking
is ridiculous.
The tanking is an automatic.
Yeah, so like those guys will never get on a game, right? Because that's just etiquette. Like you have to learn private game etiquette or streaming etiquette. And it's kind of an art form a little bit. So guys that kind of do that kind of stuff will never get on a game because it's just not great. Now, sure, maybe they crush online, but you can crush live too if you want. But like giving loose action and stuff like that is like you have to just do these things. Like
totally.
It's just you just have to.
Yeah, no, it's true. Poker's changed a lot. I think solvers in particular, like it's kind of a double-edged sword because it's one of those things where it made the average person better, but then there's always people that are ahead of the curve. So it's like when I started playing poker, there was no solvers, there was no HUDs, there was no analysis. Like we didn't even have Poker Cruncher. Like there was no way to know like equity versus ranges. Like that just didn't exist.
Yeah.
And so like we had to kind of figure those things out. And then like now like anyone could figure that out with the click of a button. But like there's still people that are better at poker than other people, and there's still always going to be people that put in more work or that work in different ways or that find edges in different ways. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like it's easier to get to a certain level. Like the average person today is probably like better than like a good player 20 years ago, and it's easier to get to that level, but it's still hard to be world class.
You would just be very surprised how lazy people are, and how overwhelmed people get very quickly. You know, because it's very confusing.
I think solvers are also not intuitive, and so it's not only laziness, which some people are lazy. That's fair, but some people generally, or that I've worked with and coached, like they generally want to learn. But like it's so clunky and overwhelming, and there's so much friction to using classic solvers that it's like you need a powerful computer, you need a PC. Like it takes a long time.
A good coach knows how to coach people in all different forms, right? Like if you're coaching a low stakes player, you're not going to start teaching them about our check raise flop frequencies, nerdy stuff like that, right? You just teach them,
or like blockers and stuff.
Yeah,
you just teach them, like,
you just
play
go
these hands.
step by step.
Yeah,
it's like
totally.
if someone's teaching me about the gym and it's day one, right? They're not going to, talk about like compound lifts and stuff like that, and why I need all this protein or what time and all this stuff. They're just going to get me in there on the treadmill probably, right? And it's kind of like same with poker. If you're trying to teach someone with poker, you just kind of learn pre-flop.
Yeah.
Let's start off with here are some of the hands that you should play.
Yeah, for sure.
And then go from there.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's a good point. I'm excited to get to the point where solvers become like just a little bit more user-friendly. And I think we're starting to just see that right now, where like some things are coming out and make it a lot easier to kind of like figure it out. Like if you look at chess.com, like they've made.
Do you like chess?
I'm bad, but I like chess.
I love chess.
Yeah.
I play chess every day. I suck.
Okay, I suck too.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Chess for rolls?
Yeah, right. No, but I mean, they've made learning the game very easy because the solver can like talk to you. There's an AI. They've taken you from, hey, you don't know how to open, to developing your pieces, to the mid game, to the end game.
Sure.
Like they could take you through that journey with a solver.
Yeah,
whereas
yeah.
poker can't do that yet.
For sure.
It's like you have to be good to use a solver. Whereas like, if poker is going to reach the masses and like solvers or AI is going to help, we need to get to a point where solvers are actually making it easier for people to learn. Not only elite level players that are plugging in all these complex spots where they're trying to balance check raise frequencies on the flop with blockers, they're entering that into a solver. They're already good enough to know not exactly what the solver is going to do, but they already can intuitively figure it out.
Things become, a lot of it is intuition.
Right.
This is something that new guys don't have the advantage that we
Yeah, you have to have a lot of experience.
Like I coach some people that are very, very talented sometimes, and then they make this play, and then I'm just like, I don't really care what the solver does here because you're just never correct. And like, there's a little bit of intuition that comes with, I'm like 13 years in. You're probably similar or around that. It's just a lot of poker's intuition, and like live poker and online poker is just way different too.
Yeah, it's
you know
way
what
different.
I mean? Like, how you're going to play live is probably not appropriate to how you should play.
Definitely
online.
And the skill set, I think, to win live is very different than online.
For sure.
And some people are good at both, but it's just a different. Live is a people game played with cards.
For sure.
And so, online is like a card game. It's just very different.
Yeah. Online is more, theory.
It's technical, yeah.
Theory, whatever. Live is, you kind of just outmaneuver opponents sometimes. Sometimes you just say, fuck my cards.
Right. I do that a lot. I actually look for
Pretty good at that,
opportunities to
too.
do that, because that's where like the big edges are when you're high conviction in a certain spot because of some external
you have like
factor.
some maybe like crazy live reads too, which is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
Some people don't believe in them. Some people, but it's like,
not everyone has
a thing.
But everyone has different types of intelligence. So like and there's not like one that's better than the other, but like certain people have more of like mathematical, linear, like game theory intelligence. Other people have more like EQ, people.
Yeah, I think the best
personality.
I think the best,
and so
have both.
Yeah, but it's also like what your natural strengths are too, and playing to that.
For sure.
So it's also a combination, which why some people prefer live versus online or tournaments versus cash games.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Ryan, let's take another question, man. How much time do we have? 20 minutes.
We're break at 3:40?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the question is, who's your favorite Hustler Casino live player? I'm not. Ryan's saying besides me, but I feel like an idiot. I know it's not me. You watched the Friday games, so who's your favorite player to watch?
So I don't know if he plays anymore, and I'm very, maybe get into it off stream if there's something behind it. But man, I just did a video on a hand that Raisuku played.
Okay.
This guy is
Rusuke.
Yeah. Yes. I just love this guy. He's so nice and so like fun and energetic, and I don't know, something about his energy. I really like people with like really good energy. You know what I mean?
Totally.
I don't know, man. The whole
His
Hustler
playing style too. Like what about? I mean, so that's a personality.
Playing style,
or also his playing style, or both.
I don't see. I'm not too versed on his playing style, but just his personality and like his fun. Dentist Dave's a great new character I was just playing with.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Like, the cast is great, right?
Yeah.
Like,
they always have a good mix of familiar faces with new people too.
Yeah, like Airball's new on the scene, and he's been causing up a big stir, but he's great for the game, right? Like. Everyone he's great action.
Yeah,
he's
people
great
watch.
action. Exactly.
And like you
can feel however you want about him, but he's great action.
Before, like you have to give action to get in games. You have to be like entertaining. You have to play fast.
Exactly.
Like, he's very good at being watchable.
And
that's what you want on the stream.
He's socially aware in that regard, right?
Oh yeah,
and
he's very, very smart.
And that's what you need for a stream to succeed.
Definitely.
Mike X is a good guy. Mike X is really funny.
Yeah, we played a lot.
Yeah, man. I honestly don't think there's anyone on the stream that I would even say is slightly dislike. Like everyone's just fun.
Awesome.
Everyone's just fun. So
yeah, and I think like it's sort of self-selecting too. Like obviously they do a very good job of curating the lineup. They do an amazing job. But I think it's also like the people that they see the product, they see the energy, they see the types of people, and they're like, it draws people that want to be in that environment and want to, like, of course everyone wants to win, it's poker, but like people want to have fun when they come to the stream, you know, they want to have a good time.
Eric Pearson, really like him. I was playing with Pearson when he first hit the scene. This is so funny, I have a funny story about Pearson. When I first met Pearson, he was in a suit just like this, right? And I'm sure you've probably never seen that. And I meet him, this is Bellagio game. The next day, he's in the tank top. I go, hey man, nice to meet you, Rob. He goes, we played yesterday. I was like, okay, my memory must be bad. And he goes, no, I was sitting in this seat. So I'm texting my buddy Stu. I'm like, was he in a suit yesterday? He's like, yeah, that's him. I was like, whoa, okay. So he dresses up a little differently.
Yeah, wow. I haven't seen him in a suit. I've only seen, the streams.
From businessman to skull crusher sometimes.
Yeah.
No, it was the first time I saw it, and the only time I've ever seen it is the first time I met him. I was like, wildly different.
Yeah. That's cool.
But he's a nice guy too. I like how blunt he is, and like, but he's also a good personality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like people that are direct. I think it's a cool character trait. It's much more common
for sure
in Europe.
I'm from Ohio, so it's like my whole family's super direct.
Yeah.
Like, I get
it's
back.
More of an East Coast thing.
Yeah, I get back from Mexico. My grandma will be like, Robert, you look fat as hell. I'm like, thanks. Good to see you. You know?
Yeah, I think it's more of an East Coast thing. It's a very, at least what I've seen, a very European thing. Like, I live in Italy part-time, I'm a dual citizen, and there people are very direct. Like,
yeah, but I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Like
My whole
people will yell at
family's
each other and fight, and then they'll still love each other, but they'll yell at each other, and then like 2 minutes later they'll be like drinking wine, and it'll be fine. But like,
for sure,
if there's, they'll like express what they feel, and they'll instead of like conceal it, and it's like a very different expectation of the culture.
Yeah, my family, my town's very direct, and I like that. I don't like, not talking it out. I think it's just a much more mature way to do it.
Yeah, you probably won't like the West Coast as much. All right, we'll take another question.
I live in Vegas, I guess, but yeah.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
About it.
Well, then, yeah, very
just
different.
A little bit different. Yeah.
What was the first part? Sorry. Okay, so the question is, what stakes do you normally play for cash? And what's like some of the biggest stakes you played? And was it, I'm assuming, a live private game? Live game? Vegas game?
The old Bruno Mars game, yes. The game I've infamously lost a lot of money. Keating, I played a lot with Keating, right? Bruno Mars in town, he messaged me, hey, we're gonna play a game with Bruno. Supposed to be in a penthouse at the ARIA Gaming Commission, ruled that we couldn't do it. Supposed to be 200, 400.
Yeah, but that's only where it starts.
Supposed to be. So I brought 200,000. Sold like no action because I was like, this is a great spot. After one orbit, it was 200, 400, 1600, 3200, and I brought 200, but I ended up losing like 1.1. And yeah, that didn't go so well.
Yeah.
But the game didn't really even play like 1600, 3200. More played like, because people were opening to like 15,000 and 20,000 free, because it's me, Keating, Bruno, and like a bunch of hedge fund guy. You wouldn't know anybody in the game.
Right. Probably a good game.
Very good game. That's why I just kept playing and getting stacked. So,
it sucks. It sucks to take a shot and have a big game. Like, it just sucks when you play a bigger game and then that game doesn't go your way, because it's like those spots are not frequent enough to reach the long run. Like, you're not going to get 10,000 hours in that spot.
That's the problem.
You're going to get 100 hours like in like 2 years.
I've always shot took those games, and
yeah, you have to.
Yeah, sort of. But I mean, it's like such a big amount of money to me. So
yeah,
that was like very, very stupid. Like, I could have hit up people, probably just sell, and I just didn't.
Yeah, totally.
I just said, YOLO. Normal, like if I'm playing.
But you always live and learn, right? Like it's.
I've made a lot of mistakes.
I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
In 20 years.
What's the saying though? Wise man makes the most mistakes. I think I've made like all of them.
I think the real
5.
saying is the wise man makes the mistake. No, the fool learns from his own mistakes. The wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Although I'm not really the wise man.
I'm not the wise man.
I often only learn from my own
probably
mistakes.
see me make a lot of mistakes tonight.
I often only learn from my own mistakes.
Doug Polk will probably make a video about it. That's fine. I mean, I expect this. So I'll probably have to make a video about myself playing bad.
It's part of being on the stream.
I love it though.
Yeah, I mean, you don't always reach the long run in those live spots, but you're going to have more exposure no matter what. Even if you sold, you're going to have more exposure because it's like,
for sure.
You're like, this is a dream spot. And
I wish I was just a little bit more responsible with bankroll over my life. Because the thing is, like, I get in all these games, right? Like, if I go to Vegas tomorrow, I would have invites to 3 private games. You know, people like to play with me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But it's, you know, I like to gamble too hard. So,
but it's also a double-edged sword because that's also probably why you get in. Is because like you're willing to get action.
Yeah. And there's just so much etiquette.
People will know that you're not gonna just like win 20K and lock it up. Like, you know.
Never.
So
never.
Like, you know, you have to have.
God,
that
if you do
balance.
that,
yeah, you're never gonna get that.
You're not getting the invite back.
Yeah. Exactly.
If your money's ever locked up, you will never get the invite back.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, private games are a lot different.
There's so much etiquette. And people always complain, especially the Bellagio game, like, you know, well, actually, I was playing a different game. Before the Bellagio game started, I was playing a different game, and everyone at the Bellagio was complaining, oh, why can't we get in the game? Why can't we get in the game? I'm just thinking, like, well, because when you do get in the game, you know, you finally get, like, the 12th or 15th seat. You just, like, you might lock up, like, a 10 or 20K win, and then you just, you know, you stall, you take your time, you're staring at racks.
Or it's just, like, obvious that you're, like, kind of like sitting there just
or you're
trying
like a
to
10,
crush everyone.
You're like a 10, you're like a 10-20 grinder, and then you play like 50-100, and then you just knit it up, and you buy in for like 5,000.
Yeah.
Instead of like everyone else's like 50,000 or whatever. And it's just like, dude, you're just kind of a seat at that point.
Yeah, you have to contribute something to a game, I think.
100%.
You have to be. It depends. Different.
It's an art. It's honestly an art.
Yeah,
form.
it is. It's an acquired skill, but it's not like
it's a social EQ thing.
Yeah, it's like it's not taught in a book, right? Like you
gotta have experience.
You have to have experience. Yeah, I agree. It's a very nuanced thing of poker. I think in poker, like, you know, at the highest levels, I think your skill is not the most important thing.
No, honestly, the skill
like
is mostly getting in the games.
I remember playing the big game in Macau, and like I remember getting to the game at 10 p.m. The game starts at 10 p.m. I remember getting to the game and sitting down at the table and just thinking like, fuck, I could finally just relax. Like now is like the fun part. Like not that it's not hard to win. It's always hard to win because poker. But like I just remember thinking like a lot of the work was to get like I'm here and like I'm in the right room. You know, it's
for
like,
sure.
You hear business people talk
in
about
the spot.
How do you get in the right room with the right people, whatever. Like that's a lot harder than a lot of other things. And I think poker is a good proxy for that because like being in the right place, being in the right game, being in the right room is like a lot of it.
That's a lot of it.
Yeah.
That is the.
It's also true in business, right? Like being around the right opportunities,
right place, right time
is a large part of it, and then executing is sometimes easier. Anyway, we'll take one more question. I think we got 10 minutes. Okay, we'll maybe get 2 more questions, guys. Go ahead. Okay, you mentioned a beer earlier. The question is, are you going to be drinking tonight? Do you normally drink while you play? And
sometimes.
What's the drink of choice if you do drink? I just do like an extra
I'm on the low carb diet, but you know, if
certain white wines are like 5 grams of carbs, right?
Oh, I'm not a wine guy, brother.
Okay.
Come on, I'm from Ohio.
Okay. So what is it, beer?
If they had Busch Light has to sponsor me at this point. I've shilled them on every possible spot I can shill Busch Light.
Okay.
Busch Light is the greatest goddamn bearded man. If they have Busch Light, I'd have Busch Light. Other than that, Miller Lite. Miller Lite's great.
But beer.
I had a Modelo Light out there. It was all right.
But mainly beer. How many beers tonight? We have a 5-hour stream.
Nah, I don't know. I'll probably chill a little bit. Depends on if Table's drinking, I guess. Table's drinking, I'll have some. But,
Henry's not here. I was going to say, Henry will always do a beer with you.
Okay, but I would assume, the JRB game, JRB was wasted, that one.
Oh,
that was a fun spot. That was a really good game, too. Just what people are doing, really.
Yeah,
I kind of just fit with
like a social thing.
I kind of just like to fit with the crowd.
Yeah. It depends, right? It's like a social thing. That makes sense.
Yeah, like the Vegas games can get very out of line.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, D-Moon can put them down. People ordering shots.
It's almost like a skill, right? Like if you know you're going to be in a game where
Macallan 18,
and you never ever drink, you're like, correct. Yeah, I'm
gotten good at drinking.
I'm such a lightweight. I would be like, I'm gonna have a glass of wine and I'm like, good. I like feel cerebral buzz.
But I'm a big guy, man. I'm 6'4", 310, 5 beers,
310,
a few beers. Not gonna do much to me.
Yeah, for sure.
If anything, I'm not nervous in these stages. Maybe I wish I was a little bit, but I've gotten pretty used to the spotlight.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's a big part of the stream too. I think.
Oh, this is a little bit different magnitude.
The games play different, you know.
Yeah.
And like people play different, and it's funny. Like sometimes we play post stream, and like it's like having that EQ thing you mentioned. It's just like it's just a different.
That's what I was talking to.
It's a different game.
That's what I was talking
about.
It's a different
energy. It's a different environment.
Dennis Dave, I said, do you guys plan on playing post stream? Because me and Moneymaker will probably want to play after.
Right.
I don't know how you feel about that, but like. We came out to play poker. At the end of the day, we both like, what are we going to go back to our hotel room and chill?
Right, I understand, yeah.
I mean, the Best Western isn't exactly popping, you know what I mean? So,
It is a different, it's a different game too, as I'm sure you know, like in different environments on and off the stream. So it'll be interesting. It'll be a fun night. We got a cool lineup.
Yeah.
It's always fun on the Hustler.
How do you say this? The one guy's name?
Jabril.
Jabril, yes. Yeah. Man, I would have said that wrong.
Nice guy.
I haven't. Yeah, everyone. Yeah, Dennis Dave was saying he was a super great guy. Maybe I just haven't missed. I missed a stream with him or something. Maybe
he's been on the Wednesday games.
Okay. Maybe I've just missed a couple of streams with him. And then we have Mike X. Or is Mike X in the game?
Yes.
Mike X, you, Moneymaker, Dennis Dave, Mariano. I don't think Rampage is in, right?
No, not this week. Mike X. Johnny Vibes and Will.
Vibes, that's right.
Yeah, Johnny Vibes.
Oh, Will. I don't know who that is.
Okay. Yeah. Is it Ryan? Is it Will? Oh yeah, this is Will right here in the throw from New York. Yeah.
Is he standing?
He's right there. He won 100K last time he played with the flag on the back. Like literally right here.
Right here in the gold watch.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
He's a cool guy. He plays often on Wednesdays too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he had 100K on a 50-100 game?
10, 20, 40.
He won 100,000
Yeah.
10, 20, 40?
Yeah, they just told me.
Jeez.
Yeah,
that is a lot.
Apparently he was the only winner.
That's not shocking when he won 100,000.
I know, right? Like, who else can win?
What a beast.
Yeah, I guess everyone buys
watch out for this guy.
Everyone buys in 10K and he stacked the whole table. Something like that, right?
Is that what people buying for? I was curious because I'll probably buy it for 50.
No, that was 10, 20, 40. This game is different.
No, that's tomorrow's game. I'm playing that tomorrow.
Oh, you're playing that. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Today I'll probably buy it for
a max
50.
20 max buy-in.
Okay, I'll buy it for 20 tomorrow.
Yeah, like exactly. Yeah, it's not.
I think Airball's playing tomorrow. What I've heard.
I don't know. Is Airball playing tomorrow? No.
Oh, he's not?
He's
Moneymaker told me that, I guess.
Not here during the Heads Up Challenge, apparently.
Oh, I
Nick Vertucci's playing tomorrow, so maybe you guys are playing.
Okay, maybe. Oh, maybe, you know what? Maybe you said Nick and I confused it.
There you go.
That's probably what happened.
Sense.
I was wondering, I was like, how is he has this challenge going on? How is he's flying back for that game?
Yeah.
I figured it was too small for him.
Yeah, I don't know. So your thoughts on the Heads Up Challenge? I guess maybe the last question before we wrap.
I love that they're doing it because usually when people challenge people to a heads-up match, it's just like nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wasn't sure who was going to back out. I thought either player could have backed out. I have some money down on it, not like a big amount or anything, but I just love that they're doing it because heads up, we've been in the game long, right? Heads up for rolls was like a super common thing back in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
Of course, this is a little bit more theatrical, not in the sense of like, I want to say theatrical because they're not acting, like they are actually playing. This one's just been built up more. God, I wish we could
definitely
have
part of who's involved, right? Like it makes sense.
Right. I wish it was on stream. How good would that be?
I feel like I feel like almost anticlimactic that it's not on stream, to be honest. But
it is.
I'm not
also,
really following along, so I don't even know who's winning.
Doug's been doing
right
some
now.
cool updates.
Okay.
Landon's been posting updates on Twitter. I posted a couple updates on Twitter as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're going to see some of that.
Yeah, no, it's fun because I'm getting a lot of the hand history sent to me, and they're playing some poker.
Yeah.
There's some poker being played and some big bots. Like they're playing. Airball's been covering them for the most part, and they're playing 200, 400 with 400 ante. That ante makes the game a lot bigger.
Right, because basically there's 1,000 in the pot, so it's closer to 300, 600.
Well, you just gotta, yeah, exactly.
And you just pot size wise,
well, you
closer
essentially
to
have to play every hand.
Yeah.
Whether in regular heads up, you might only play, from the small blind, you're playing like 80% of your hands or whatever. But now with the ante, both players are basically playing every hand, so carnage can happen at any time.
Yeah,
and I love it.
They're very interesting.
It's a fun sweat.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Cool. We got one more question, and then we'll wrap up. We got some poker on the stream coming up, guys.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I always like to play.
man, if I mess up, it's going to be funny. I'm just going to do a video torching. I'm going to do an M&M where I just make a video and I just roast myself the entire video.
Well, you gotta do something dumb to roast yourself. If you look like a genius,
oh, trust me, I do a lot of stupid things.
Yeah.
So who knows? I could easily.
It's only 5 hours, so it's sometimes the cards have their own agenda.
Give me 30 minutes.
Yeah. It also depends, man. The seat draws, depends on what you get.
Yeah.
You might look good, you might look bad.
I hope me and Moneymaker are next to each other.
Oh, yeah.
That is my. I don't care if he's on my left or I'm on it. It doesn't matter to me. But I would like to sit next to him. I know we're probably gonna do random seat draws and stuff.
Oh yeah, we always do. Yeah.
But it would be fun just to be more involved in pots against him. I'm sure we'll get involved in pots. He's going to try to outplay me. He does it online randomly. We'll be playing like a 1K or something. The other day, he 3-bet me with Jack 4 off.
Nice.
Literally, I was like, and yeah, I think we got it on like a Jack high board. And I was like, I just hit him on WhatsApp. I said, God, you suck.
So you think he's going to be going for you tonight?
100%.
Okay, and you're going for him, it sounds like.
Hell yeah. I would love to.
Say it again?
Out of anybody I could stack, it'd be him.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so final thoughts on today. What's your plan?
I'm excited. Just let it, let the cards flow as they are, and have a good time, man. I'm all about just having a good time and not taking poker too seriously, and just kind of shooting the shit with everyone, getting to know everyone. Like me and Dave just hanging out. You know, I'm a people person. I really like people. So
yeah, that's cool. It's your first time playing with Mariano, Johnny Vibes, Mike X?
Yeah, all of them.
So. Okay, cool. So it's first time playing with everyone. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Excited to have you. We'll get to see you in action in a few minutes. So stay tuned, guys. We'll be up for that. And
I'm excited.
This was cool. Thanks everybody.
Guys.
Thanks, chat.
Appreciate
and
it.
we'll see you guys up on the stream. See ya. All right, guys, stay tuned. We got hand breakdowns next with yours truly. I'll be breaking down some hands I played on the last stream. And then we got the show, and it's going to be an awesome night. I'll see you guys there. See ya.
Raise it up. Raise it up. Chat Pro. Raise it up. Chat Pro. Slow roll. Never fold. Raise it up. Chat Pro. Slow roll. Never fold. Raise it up. Chat Pro. Slow roll. Never fold. Slow roll. Never fold. Slow roll. Never fold. Raise it up. Raise it up. Chat Pro.
Welcome back, guys. Alec, Torelli here. We are in a second going to be going over some of the key hands I played on the last stream. I'm going to break it down for you. Going to see my step-by-step process. And just hopefully my goal here is to help people that want to improve at poker to be able to think through hands and situations more clearly, make better decisions, and ultimately hopefully take some of these strategies and insights to your local games, your home games, your casino games, your live games, your tournaments, whatever you're playing, to help you raise your game to the next level. So a couple things on my end. I'm putting out a vlog about this entire session that I'm playing today on my YouTube at Conscious Poker. So you can find all of the sessions I've ever played on Hustler with their own dedicated vlog where I break down every single hand I play. So this pregame here, I'm gonna share 3 hands with you. Of course, we don't have time to get into all the hands I played during the session or other sessions as well. So check that out on the YouTube. I'm also heading to Florida. I'm really excited. I'm going to be in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and then up in Orlando and Jacksonville. I'm going to be hosting a meetup game in South Florida. So if you're there and you want to play, hit me up on social. Let me know. That'll be April 16th. Oh, and then Jacksonville, I'm excited to go there too. I'm playing on the live stream on Best Bet. We're going to play a 25-50 game. Just kind of announcing this for the first time right here. So I figured Hustler's always a good spot. I'll be there as well. So really excited just to be traveling around, playing some poker, meeting with you guys. If you're in Florida, hit me up. I want to connect with some of you guys on the road. And that's it. That's it, guys. Let's dive into some hands. We got a shorter stream today. We got a lot to cover. So this first hand kicks off with the bounty stand-up game. So this is really important to understand. All these hands are going to have a stand-up game component. We don't actually stand up because of the cameras, but basically the last player to win a pot pays every other player. I forgot the number. We change it every stream. I think it was $400, $300, but some large amount where basically you're going to get penalized $2,000 or like $3,000 if you are the last player to win a hand. So in this, if you don't see someone with a little orange button in front of them, it means they have not yet won they have not yet won a hand, and therefore everyone's competing to win a hand. So you're going to see people play a lot looser. You're going to see people play a lot more hands, and that's simply just because of the math. Like, if you call $300 pre-flop, you're only risking 300. If you fold every hand, well, you got to pay 3,000. So it's like, 10 to 1 sort of thing. There's a little bit more to it than that, but that's basically the idea that you're very incentivized to play a lot of hands. So you'll see that here on the stream. Without further ado, let's dive in. First hand on deck.
600. How many customers?
Many customers for Wesley.
Already heads up.
When the stand-up game was turned off, we didn't see a lot of players making it $600 with Jack 6 suited. I'm glad it's back on.
Check. Check.
Hopefully it stays on for the rest of our show. We're about halfway home.
All right, so it's on me pre-flop. Where'd you pause? Oh, okay. Yeah, so pre-flop, you're going to see a lot of shenanigans, right? Just for the reasons we discussed, it's just a lot cheaper to play a hand than it is to pay everyone a bounty. I think in this hand we also had a straddle, so we have Tony tag limping under the gun with ace 10, Wesley coming along in the cutoff with the jack 6 suited. And you even heard DJF mention, like, I don't know if players are playing this many hands without the stand-up game. So just keep in mind that people are playing more hands, and that changes the way that the hand is played on later streets. So one of the concepts I always share with clients and students is like this idea of a hand range funnel. And it's basically this idea that, like, in order to figure out what someone has, you want to start with pre-flop and then narrow down the types of hands they have based on the decisions they make each street. So if they bet the flop, you can narrow their pre-flop range down based on the fact that they bet the flop. If they bet the turn, you're kind of eliminating hands and getting narrower and narrower, and that's why I think it follows the shape of a funnel where it starts very wide and gets progressively narrower. So normally pre-flop, which I consider the top of the funnel, is pretty tight. Like people play, maybe 20% of hands, 25% depending on the positions. They're not playing that many hands. So it's easier to hand read, as it's called, on subsequent streets because you're starting with a narrower subset of hands from which you can start to eliminate using deductive reasoning. But in this hand, because everyone's competing to win the button, or the little bounty, people are going to be playing a lot of hands. So that top of the funnel starting range is going to be a lot wider for all players. So just keep that in mind because that's going to affect decisions on the turn and the river. Because whenever your opponents are starting with more hands, they wind up with more bluffs. So on the flop, I call pre, Mars calls pre, Tony Tag calls pre. We all are trying to win a chip, win the little bounty, and the flop comes, 9-4 deuce, and I'm first to act. I check, pretty standard here. I actually have, I guess you guys can't see my cards here. I actually have 9-5 of hearts. It's kind of funny you guys can't see my hand till the river, but I have 9-5 of hearts, so I check through on the flop. Tony checks, Tony Tag checks, and Wesley checks, and the turn comes a 3, so bringing a flush draw. So at this point, I have top pair with a straight draw, but I probably have the best hand. Everyone checked on the flop, but obviously too, I want to bet my hand to get value or benefit from protection, but I also just want to win the pot. So I think here betting is very standard. I think even without the bounty chip, like I would want to bet this specific hand because I don't want a lot of overcards or flush draw cards to come on the river, which could make my opponents have a better hand than me. And I am against 3 other players. So there's a lot of overcards that other people can have. And so I benefit a lot from betting to just have protection. So I think I have a pretty standard bet here, and let's see what happens.
$1,600.
We don't know what Alec has, but it's probably decently strong betting into multiple opponents. Wes has a straight draw and a flush draw, and he's going to raise.
Price went up to $6,500.
All right, so I come out firing. I think that's pretty standard with my hand. And Tony Tag, Mars folds, and then Tony Tag calls. A little bit looser of a call with his hand, but of course with that bounty in there, I understand it. Maybe I'm bluffing, and if I'm bluffing, he has a better hand, but also he has some draws too. He can win with a 5, maybe a 10, maybe an ace. Maybe he has plans to bluff the river too. So Wesley now comes along for 6,500. So using that kind of funnel we talked about, like think about, what types of hands is he raising with preflop, and then checking the flop with in position, and then raising the turn. So it's kind of a weird line because he's showing strength preflop, then he's showing weakness on the flop, and now he's showing a lot of strength on the turn. Well, it's not like a moderate amount of strength on the turn, which would be calling, right? Which is the showing strength but not an aggressive line. But raising is basically saying, hey, like, I have a hand that's better than your bet and Tony's call. So he's typically representing something better than a 9. And so he checked the flop, so it's kind of weird for him to have a 9, but it's also weird for him to be raising with a 9 on the turn because I could have 2 pair, I could have a straight, I could have a flop, I could have a, I could have straight or a set, sorry. And Tony Tag could have, a pair and a draw or some strong hand as well. So it'd be kind of weird for him to raise a 9. It's also kind of weird for him to check a 9. So I think at this point, he kind of is telling the story that he turned a straight maybe. He had like ace-5 and checked the flop, which is reasonable. That could definitely be in there, like check back with ace high and then turn a straight, and now you're raising, of course. You can have pocket 3s, maybe have some 4-3 or something like that. But he's kind of repping like a sort of strong hand here on the turn. So at this point, this is like a pretty pivotal point in the hand because, I'm behind his strong hands, but I'm ahead of all of his bluffs. So, I'm either in a pretty good spot if he's bluffing, especially with my redraw, like I have a 5. So if he has a 5 in his hand with like king 5, I'm blocking his draw, right? Because I have a 5. So maybe he has some bluffs like, king 5 suited or queen 5 suited or, 7-5 or something like that turned a draw. So there's definitely some bluffs he can have. He can have turned clubs. Maybe he has like queen 10 of clubs and like check the flop with basically, nothing and then turn a club draw. Maybe he has something like an ace. Maybe he's bluffing here with ace queen and just turned a straight draw and now he's going for it. That's all possible, right? Maybe he sensed some weakness from Tony. So you gotta, in spots like these, there's definitely some theory. There's a theory component, and you could play the equity of your hand and the strength of your hand, but it's also really important to play the player and try and understand, live like reads based on the situation, the game flow, your opponent, what you know about them, what they know about you, who the other players in the hand are, the game dynamics. Like if there's any sort of way you can figure out a better than game theory of like how to navigate the situation, right? Maybe you have a strong read that he's likely to be light, and therefore you call lighter than you normally would, right? So this is a spot where I'm either going to be in pretty good shape or I'm going to be in very bad shape. Like if he has, I guess I'm not in terrible shape against 4-3, but I'm in very bad shape against ace-5 or, God forbid 5-6 or pocket 3s. So in this spot, I thought that I was in good shape. I kind of got on that page of like, I think he's likely to be light here. He's likely to be wide. Again, we're playing the stand-up game. There's a bounty. And so I also have to worry about Tony behind me. But I really thought like, if I call this turn, my hand looks pretty strong. Like, I bet into 4 people and called a raise. I could be trapping with a straight. I could have a set. I could have 2 pair. I could have a strong 9. I could have pocket 10s. So I thought if I called this turn, even if Tony had like 10-9 or Jack-9, he's going to fold. So in a weird way, my call almost forces Tony out of the pot. And so I wasn't too worried about Tony behind me, unless he was trapping with a straight, in which case he's going to stick it in, and I was wrong. But, you know, even thinking through the fact that Tony's behind me, I wasn't really that worried just because I felt like Tony's sandwiched in between Wesley and me, and he's going to let go of a 9 here pretty easily. So it kind of allows me, calling here on this turn, kind of allows me to play the pot heads up with Wesley, who I think I have beat, and force Tony to fold, who might even have me beat. So it was really kind of a really unique, nuanced spot where I think this hand reading is really important. And to download that funnel we're talking about, it's totally free at consciouspoker.com. Just check it out. You'll be entered into our newsletter too. It goes out every Monday. I sell pieces myself in this game at no markup. That's exclusively on our newsletter too. So that and more is at Conscious Poker to check out. So anyway, that was my plan going into it. I had a read on the turn. I thought I was good. And let's see what happens.
Sizable raise. What do you guys think Alec has? Might be something real good.
Yes.
Perhaps a set? Well, if he had a set, he's very happy right now. 17,000 in the middle. Wesley has jack high.
All in.
All you can eat.
And he goes all in.
The fuck? Oh.
What do we got? Top pair?
10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Can I get a count of the greens?
I think he's got you covered.
9.
Nine and
This is 9 in green.
yeah.
9, 10, 20, 8.
Torelli knows
28.
this line doesn't make a ton
27.
of sense.
28,700.
Okay. So I think he covers me. Hold on.
Wesley representing a straight on the turn, the board pairs on the river, and he goes all
26. All right, so 20.
in. Those are 2 different tails.
All right.
The chat thinks Alec has pocket 5s.
We have 3s full.
Pocket 5s would be a good hand to call with. Maybe Alec just has a 9.
Sorry, guys, 1 sec. You asked me to punt to you too, Wesley.
Wesley did ask
This
Alec
might be
to punt
it,
to
man.
him
This
on
might be the
Twitter.
hand. This would be a punt.
Maybe the chat is right. Maybe it is pocket 5s.
I got a good hand though. I don't want to let go.
The man on the left of your screen has been playing high stakes poker for a very long time. He's confused by Wesley's line.
Sorry, guys, 1 sec.
Raise the turn huge, rep the straight, and then the board pairs, you go all in.
Yeah, so it took me a sec to kind of figure out the stacks here. They got the graphics wrong. Just to clarify that, we had about 28,000 each. I think he covered me by like $500. So it's about 1.5x on the river here as a jam. So pretty big bet by Wesley. I think it's a good bet by Wesley. If he is going to be firing this river here, you know, he's repping the hands we talked about on the turn. And he's repping even fewer of those hands because I don't think 4-3 shoves the river. Because like he got counterfeited, right? So 4-3 doesn't make sense. Maybe he has some deuces that were like bluffing the turn, like ace deuce that went for it, or king deuce or something. Like that's possible. I don't think that always raises the turn, but maybe like there's a deuce in there, and I'm just wrecked. But a lot of the hands he's repping are the hands we talked about, like ace 5. I think DJF was saying it doesn't make sense to jam with a straight here, and it is kind of ironic. Like if he has a straight, he has to be worried that I might have, you know, 9s full or 4s full or 3s full or quads. Like those are the types of hands that are going to bet call the turn. So it is a little dicey for him to shove with a straight here. It's Wesley. Do I think he would do it? Yes. So I'm not ruling out a straight, even though it is a little weird to shove one of the board pairs. But I think a straight is definitely possible. A boat is definitely possible. Like 3s full, you know, is the real hand that makes the most sense. Like for the reasons we talked about, he checks the flop, he raises the turn, and he has a boat. What does he do? He jams the river. So like ace 5, 3s full, maybe 5-6. Those are all in there. Maybe a random deuce that like, you know, ran into a trips and is going for value against a 9 or something, or pocket 5s or whatever. You know, those are possible. Otherwise, it's a bluff. So, and again, this is a spot where I fortunately kind of have a good hand to call with. Ironically, and I actually didn't plug this into a solver to look at exactly what 9-5 would do, but I'm pretty confident like 9-5 is better than having like 10-9 because I have a 5 in my hand, which makes it less likely he has like a 5-6 or ace 5 of hearts type of hand. So I prevent him from having some of those straights, and I also have no clubs or no spades. Sorry, I'm looking at the other suit. I have no clubs or no spades, which means it's just more likely he has clubs or spades. So if I were to have something like 10-9, you know, my hand is better. Like the absolute strength of my hand is better. But if I have 10-9 with a club, it's like a worse hand to call with because I don't prevent him from having any of his value, and I also block him from having some of his bluffs. So I actually have a particularly like good bluff catcher. Obviously, I wish I had a stronger hand. I wish I had like a boat because I would have an easy call. But of the weak hands I have, this is actually one of the better ones. I actually think this is a lot better than something like ace 9 because I think a lot of his bluffs contain aces. Like he might be bluffing, like I said on the turn, with ace king or ace queen or ace jack, just raising the turn with a gut shot and 2 overs and then going for it on the river. So I kind of have the perfect sort of bluff catcher candidate. But ultimately, you know, in my experience, like playing a lot of live high stakes poker, like I'm trying to do better than just, hey, this is a good candidate for a call because of game theory. I'm trying to understand, like, is it likely my opponent's bluffing here? What's my read in the situation? And can I be right a very high degree of the time because of that read, rather than just being right long term because of the theory of my hand? So yeah, my read on the turn was that he was weak. I thought on the river that he was likely to be bluffing as well. But I think it's a good bet. I think because Wesley's repping like very nutted hands, like super strong hands, and he's also repping air, he doesn't want to be betting here like 10K, because 10K is just too easy for me to call. Because if he's still repping the same range regardless of what size he's betting, given the way he played the hand on the flop and the turn. So it's really important for him to bet big here, and I think he did it all right. And so, yeah, it's like a tough spot for me. I have to be right a decent amount of the time because of the size of his bet, and that's one of the benefits of overbetting is it puts your opponent in a spot where they have to be right a pretty high, like a lot higher of a percentage, because they're calling, their pot odds are worse, right? They're calling more chips to win the pot, so they have to be more certain about their decision. And also, like, people don't like calling overbets. People don't like calling all-ins. You know, it's a spot where I'm either going to look very smart or very dumb, depending on the results, right? So like if I call with 9-5 and he has a boat, I look like like an idiot, and if he's bluffing, I look very smart because he's bluffing and I made a hero call. So it's kind of like one of those spots where it's there's a whole dynamic to the hand that is unique to the stream that I think makes the hand play different, and I also think there's a dynamic because of the win the button game. I mean the ante game. So in these spots in your games, I think, you know, they might play a little bit differently, and it's important to be aware of the game flow and your opponents and how everybody's playing and what level each individual player is on in your specific games. But overall, you know, big spots like these, I try and go with my read, and make those plays long term, I think they're going to be right more often. So I thought about it for a minute, but ultimately try to center myself and have the courage to go with it, even though there's a risk of being wrong. So let's see what happens.
Something doesn't add up.
Twice the time.
Great call, Alec. What do you got?
Nice hand.
Thank you.
Yeah, 9-5. Top pair.
My R doesn't work.
Yeah, I think it was well played on both parts. Someone had to win, and you guys have seen I've been on the wrong side of it a couple times, but this time it went my way. All right, let's move on. We got a couple more interesting spots. I think that was that was one of the bigger hands I played. I was actually really card dead this session. I would be curious to look back and see like what percentage of hands I played, just because I was so card dead. It was like my most uneventful stream, I think, in terms of just like the hands I was dealt, at least from my point of view, obviously. So I was really happy to win this stream because I felt like this is one of my proudest streams, even though I won like 20K or something, just because I really felt like I earned it. I didn't get any setups or great spots, but so the other hands are smaller in size, but still really dynamic and interesting. Let me pull up the timestamp here. You want to run this, Ryan? Yeah, let's go ahead.
We appreciate it.
Absolutely. And it's free for sure.
Okay, here we go.
Again, Dave Tuckman is out this week. He's got crabs, but Chin in the 4 seat is going to be up here in the booth tomorrow night and Friday.
2,500.
He's a great commentator as well. Matthew Fox with a $20 super chat donation. You need a Fox on a Monday.
All right, where'd you pause? On the flop? Oh, okay. So we're playing the stand-up game. I'm under the gun. I open with 9-7 suited. A little frisky, but we're on the stream with the stand-up game. I'm not trying to play exactly, playing a little wider here, and I think that's pretty standard. The Tony Tag calls in like second or third position. Mariano comes along with a 3-bet. Aggressive player. He's in position. Makes sense. Attacking both of us. He makes it 2,500. Back over to me. We have pretty deep stacks here, like 70K effective each, so this is kind of a good hand to play. I don't love being out of position against Mariano, of course, but at the same time, I love these types of hands. I think it's definitely, in a weird way, like, again, the absolute value of your hand is less important than your playability, and also the strategy changes a lot with the stack depth. So if I was like 50 big blinds deep or 100 big blinds deep or something, this is a lot more dicey of a call because I don't have as many implied odds, meaning that I'm not going to be able to win as many chips when I hit my hand because my stack depth is not as deep. I don't have as many chips behind. But when we're really deep, and so when you're shorter, you want to, better hands or something like ace queen or king queen or something, hands with absolute value that are just likely to be, ahead of your opponent's range, depending on which positions you're in. You want better, stronger pre-flop hands. When you're deeper, those like offsuit Broadway hands are like problematic, let's say. They're trouble hands, however you want to call them. They're hands that are likely to lose you more money than they are to win you just because people aren't really stacking off with one pair, and you don't want to be in a spot out of position where you're drawing to flop one pair and then you have like a tough, mediocre kicker one pair hand out of position. You want to be drawing to hands that could make very strong hands like straights or like the nuts or trips or something like that. So I much prefer something like a 9-7 suited. It's just kind of easier to play, and I think you're going to have a lot more situations where you could win big pots rather than you can lose big pots. So I think I have a pretty standard call here. So I'm coming along, and then Tony Tag gets out of the way, and let's take a flop.
We always have Foxes on Monday.
Killed.
And he didn't open the card. He should have won.
Me and Son have been paying every one of them.
2,500 now.
but I make some art. You like it?
I like that one.
Mariano and Alec, stars of today's pregame show, going to battle it out here.
You have to go all in.
Flush draw for Alec, backdoor nut flush draw for Mariano. Ace high is good.
Why? I could have aces.
Let's see these guys go to war.
I'll kick you. I have aces. I'm queens. See? I said, yeah, of course. I'm kings. Queens. How can you shove with ace high? That makes no sense.
So on the flop, I check pretty standard. I'm going to be checking here pretty much always. Mariano comes along with a c-bet, which is very standard. He has ace high, which very well could be the best hand. But he also has a backdoor straight draw, a backdoor flush draw, two backdoor straight draws, like the high end and the low end. And he's in position. Like he's just c-betting here. He bets 1,700 into like, whatever, 7K. And so that's a pretty standard bet. His sizing is pretty standard. He's betting small, which tells me that he's betting a lot of hands here, as he should be. So this is a very good bet by him, very balanced. I think he's going to be betting here with, the same sizing and with strong hands and weak hands. So I don't think there's much to gain from his bet here in terms of like reading into his hand strength. I think he's going to be pretty balanced. We play a lot together, Mariano and I, and so it makes sense for him to mix in strong and weak hands with this bet. Back over to me. I could go for a check raise. Like I definitely don't have showdown value, and that's always like at least one factor to consider when you're debating raising. Like if I were to have something like, he has the ace of spades, I understand. But like if I were to have like ace jack of spades, that hand actually has showdown value. You have ace high, it could be the best hand. So like in some ways it's better to raise with that hand because it has more equity, it's a stronger hand. But in other ways it's also good to call with that hand because that hand could actually be the best hand and it could win the pot. Whereas with 9-7, I pretty much never have the best hand. I guess he could have like 6-5 or 7-5. It's like some of the time I have the best hand, but 90-something% I don't have the best hand. And so because I can't win the pot, this makes this hand a good contender for a raise. The problem with raising here is that a lot of my hands are going to want to call this flop. So like the way I think about poker, the way I try and teach clients to think about it as well, like I think a simple framework is just play your strong hands, play your hands the way that you would play all of your hands. So most of the time on this flop, I'm going to call. Like if I have a queen, I'm going to call. I'm not really going to be raising with queen jack here because if I had queen jack, I would be afraid that he has like king queen or aces or kings, which are the types of hands he's repping. So most of my even stronger hands, like my top pairs, are going to flat this flop. They're going to flat for pot control. They're going to flat to pick off bluffs. And so because of that, I'm going to be flatting here with a lot of hands, and therefore flatting with this hand kind of makes it easier to balance the times I'm flatting with stronger hands because if I'm raising this flop, like what am I repping when I raise this flop? Like 4-3? I raised under the gun? Like maybe. Like 4s and 3s? Like sure, but again, I raised under the gun and like there's only those combos of sets, right? So I don't really have queen 4, I don't really have queen 3. 4-3's kind of, potentially not even there either. And so even some of the time I might even flat the flop with sets. So when I raise, it's like, it's kind of a bluffy line to raise this flop. So I think calling makes a lot of sense. And then to balance that out, I would also call with 4s, I would call with 3s, I would call with some strong queens like ace queen or even ace queen of spades some of the time, because then it makes me a lot harder to play against. He can't just barrel me on every turn and river because I actually have some strong hands. So that's kind of how I think about it. And again, that's all in the hand reading system at Conscious Poker, just kind of how to think through hand reading, putting your opponents on hands, and how to figure out how to play your own hands. But that's kind of my framework here. So I decided to call. Let's take a turn.
Yeah, that's a good play. That's a good play. Even you lose, that's a good play. Like me, even I lost.
Continuation bet, call. What will the turn bring Lauren? A 5 gives both players a gut shot straight draw. Mariano needs a 2 to make a straight.
All right, so the turn comes a 5. I could maybe lead here. I think that's like a possibility. Again, I try and think about like how I would play other hands and not just how I want to play this one individual hand. And I know that's not always, and I also want to like clarify, this isn't necessarily important if you're playing against unobservant players, if you're playing, deep in a tournament that you're only going to be in once in a lifetime or once a year, and you're playing with different players or they don't know how you play, or you're just playing in a game in like I'm going to Florida in a couple weeks. Like if I play there once and I'm not playing with those players all the time, like how I would play other hands doesn't really matter because I'm not going to reach the long term with these players. They're not going to. Nobody's going to know exactly what I would do in every spot because we don't have a big enough sample size, and therefore those things don't really matter. But when you're on a stream like I am, and you're playing against Mariano like I am, and I do every week, every Wednesday we play together, like it's, you know, these sorts of things become a lot more important as, you know, at a higher level, but also when there's complete transparency about how everyone's playing every spot. He can go back and look at the stream and he can see like, oh, Alec's always bluffing in this spot, or Alec's never bluffing in this spot. Like those things start to matter a lot more. So I also want to preface it that some of these strategies might not be directly the best way to apply to your game. And in your games, it might be better just to say, well, hey, I'm under bluffing this spot, but my opponent doesn't know that, and I'm going to exploit him by just betting, by betting or by checking or whatever it is that you're doing. You don't have to be perfectly balanced because it's not always going to apply. But anyway, in this spot, I could turn this hand into a bluff on the turn. I have a straight draw. I have a blocker to a 7, which is good. And I have no showdown value, which is also a good candidate to bluff. Also, you know, some of the hands I call the flop with here are going to want to lead this turn. Maybe I decide to lead with a queen to protect against him having like an ace in his hand, or a 6 or a 7. And maybe I turn something. Maybe I have 4-5 or, you know, 7-6, which is possible. Pocket 5s, ace deuce. Those hands are definitely possible that I could have. So I would lead those hands on the turn here. So I think this hand's a candidate for leading. Checking's also fine. I think check raising, check calling. I think I could really do anything here on the turn. You know, there's merit to all of them. But I check, seeing what Mariano does, kind of going to make a decision in real time, like I really like to do. And he checks immediately behind. So, you know, he's definitely checking here, maybe with some queens, maybe some pocket pairs. But it's a good sign when he checks behind because he probably doesn't have like aces, probably doesn't have kings, probably doesn't have a set or a straight. So that kind of sets this up for the river where I could take over the lead and try and find myself a way to win this pot. Let's go.
Alec needs a 6. He could also win with a spade, a 7, or a 9.
What's the next film? You have a film already lined up?
So I have one of filming in like.
See if Alec can tell the story.
Yep, so back on me on the river. Not my favorite river. Obviously, I'm hoping for a spade or a 6 or maybe even a 9 that I could like have a pair and win against ace king or something. But I didn't. Oh, you know, you don't always get the easy route, especially in poker. So a 5 comes off, and again, here I'm thinking about like what would I do with my strong hands? So what would I do with a queen? And I think in this spot, I don't really love overbetting just because if I have a queen, I'm probably not going to want to overbet, right? If I have a queen, I don't want to bet 15,000 into 9,000. I'm probably going to want to bet 5,000 or 6,000. Like if I have queen jack, I'm going to want to bet for value, get value from ace high, or get value from jacks or 10s or 9s or 8s or 7s or ace 4 or whatever. So you want to think, again, like one of the principles here, you want to think about how you would play your strong hands and play your weak hands the same way. Because when you play your strong hands one way and then you play your weak hands another way, it makes it very easy for observant opponents to figure out what you have. So for example, if I were to bet 6,000 here with king queen and then I overbet when I'm bluffing, well, like, it's just easy for him to call my big bets because I'm not betting my strong hands that way unless I have like a set or like a boat. So it's just easy for him to kind of figure out what I have. So I think here, in a weird way, betting smaller is actually bigger. Like it actually accomplishes more. Because I would bet this way with a queen. I'm also going to bet this way with a bluff. And I think when you have that balance in your game, it's very, very effective because betting small here actually gives me a better price on my bluffs. And I don't have many bluffs here. So even if I am bluffing this one time with this hand, like Mariano can't just call me with like ace high, I don't think, because I could have a 5. I could have floated with 6-5 or ace 5 or 7-5, 4-5. I can have 4s or 3s. I could have any queen, like queen 10 suited, queen jack suited, king queen offsuit, ace queen, like ace queen suited, ace queen off. And so all those hands are gonna bet the river. Like, do I have some? I have ace deuce. Do I have some bluffs? Yeah, but I only have bluffs that are like check calling the flop that didn't check raise, that didn't lead the turn, that are spades. And are there some spade combos? Sure, but there's not like that many. Worst of all, Mariano has a spade in his hand, and so it's very hard for him to call here. I don't know that, of course, but it just makes it that much harder. So I just think betting like in the 6K range, like 2/3 pot, pretty much repping a queen. Like, what is the easiest way to rep a strong, like a normal value bet, and that's what I think about in spots like these, so that my opponents can never figure out what I have. So even while I'm here on the pregame show talking about exactly what my strategy is, like, it's fine, because if I had a queen, I would bet the same way. And so most of the time I'm gonna have that hand, and I know that even though this one time I'm bluffing, my opponents can't just call me with nothing, because most of the time I'm gonna have that queen, or I'm gonna have a straight, I'm gonna have a set, I'm gonna have two pair, I'm gonna have a boat. So that's my plan, and let's see what happens. All right, sure.
Did he check called the flop
All right, but don't like,
for the queen?
Don't get into the zone. You know how they
Or maybe a hand like pocket sevens.
No method over here. Yeah.
I let you win.
Small bet, smallish.
We're good, right?
A call on the river would have been kind of nice.
I didn't have it.
Yeah, it's kind of big.
I was going to ask if it was less than that, if you would have called.
No fair.
Yeah, okay. No fair.
It's no fun. You bet 6,000 with 9 high, and your opponent's making you wait.
Learn some art.
Stupid.
You know, art is, you have to be a genius. Art to learn.
Put it in. Oh, he folds. Got to turn it over in the stand-up game.
So hard to get it through.
No? Maybe we're not playing the stand-up game anymore.
Nice bluff.
Thanks. It's hard to get it through, especially with Mariano. Credit to him for even thinking here. I think this is a quick book fold, so he must have had, some reason he didn't feel like this was going to get through, and so I'm always grateful when it does. Credit to him for thinking about it. I think it's, a book fold, but I'm always happy to get it through. So I think it worked out, and I think hopefully it took something away from the bet sizing and the hand reading component of things. Let's move on to one final hand. We're going to run through this, and the stream's coming up next. Let's go.
All right. Dylan gets away from this one. Alec pops 600. Straddle must be on.
You want short. Yeah.
Yeah, the king put on the straddle. 3 ways to the flop.
It's the flop.
Okay. Okay.
We've got gut shots.
All right, so we have a straddle to 200 from the King Henry. I'm in the hijack with ace jack off, so that's a very clear raise. I make it 600, very standard. Soto, who's chin, calls in the big blind with 9-8, and Henry comes along in the straddle with jack 9. I think it's pretty standard here. Maybe Soto sometimes will choose to 3-bet this hand. That I guess could go either way, but I think so far this is pretty standard. King 10-6, rainbow flop, over to me. They both check. King high flops are typically good for the pre-flop raiser. I'm going to have all the ace kings, and my opponents are going to have none of those. So that sort of simplistic logic alone makes king high flops typically better for the pre-flop raiser than it does for the other callers, especially when those callers are in the blinds, because they're going to be a lot wider in the blinds, especially Henry in the big blind, or excuse me, the straddle, because he's closing the action, getting a good price. He's going to be calling with a lot of hands. A lot of those hands don't contain a king. I also have a gut shot. My jack might be live. So I think this is a pretty standard c-bet here. I don't love c-betting in multi-way pots with like nothing, but combining the board texture, meaning the types of cards that are on the board, and those cards favoring the types of hands that I have relative to the types of hands my opponents have, meaning it's more favorable for me, combined with the fact that I might have the best hand. I mean, I have ace high. I actually have the best hand. I don't know that, but I might have the best hand, and I also have a good draw. Like if a queen comes, I make the nuts. I could probably win with an ace, maybe win with a jack. I think I have a pretty clear c-bet. So I decided to make it just half pot bet here. I think it's like pretty standard. I'm going to be betting this flop decently, like a decent amount of the time, but not all the time. So I think maybe going a little bit bigger here makes some sense. I'm not going to be betting here with like any two, like maybe ace 5, of spades is too thin with like just ace high and no backdoor, no other draw. So I think my c-bets are going to be a little bit more confined, especially 3 ways against good players. So I could maybe go a little bit bigger here. It's also a 3-way pot. Maybe want to cut down on some of their odds to call and draw. Anyway, it's on me. I have plans. Let's see what happens.
All right. Dylan gets away from this one. Galore. The queen would be very, very bad for the king.
All right, no worries.
Chin's got a backdoor flush draw as well. No queen magic. Ah, interesting card here. Chin now has the best hand with third pair. Henry is now open-ended. They're all gonna check, aren't they?
All right, so turn comes an 8, not a good card. Unlikely at this point to have the best hand now, because even if someone was drawing like they were on the flop, the 8 maybe connects some of those draws with, 7-8, 9-8. Yeah, so it's like not a great turn for me. Not a great spot, frankly. Soto checks, which is good. Like if he leads here, that's pretty strong, leading into 2 people, because he doesn't know what Henry has. Henry could definitely have, been trapping on the flop. Henry could have, 9-7 some of the time, or maybe 10-8 or something. Maybe even 6-8 of like hearts or clubs. That's probably within Henry's wheelhouse. So Chin betting blind into 2 people would be pretty strong. I could also have 3 kings or 3 10s. Like I could have all the strong hands too. So he checks. It's on Henry. I actually kind of like Henry as a lead here. Typically, just simplifying this spot here without getting too much into the weeds, the smaller cards are more likely to be in the big blind's holding, because the big blind is calling pre-flop with the widest range, calling pre-flop with the most amount of hands. And so Henry also plays a lot of hands. He knows that. And so like on this board, Henry is like possible, like it's possible Henry could have some 9-7 type of hand or some 10-8 type of hand, easier than Soto calling in the small or the middle blind, because he's going to play fewer of those hands. Like Henry's going to play all the offsuit combos of 9-7 and 10-8, whereas Soto is not. So, and I might not either in the hijack. So the balance of power here sort of shifts to Henry. So actually, specifically with his hand, leading makes some sense. He has a 9 in his hand, so he blocks some 9s, which is always good to have a card in your hand that prevents your opponents from having the nutted hands. But also, like, he has no showdown value. And frankly, it puts everyone in a tough spot. Like, even if I have king-queen, if Henry comes out leading here, like, it's tough for me because I have Soto behind me. So it puts me on defense with someone behind when I already could be beat by Henry, right? So Henry's lead here is pretty damn good because he has a good hand if he's called. Like, even if I call with ace-king, he has outs, right? He can hit a 7, he could hit a queen, and maybe he has some implied odds too. And maybe there's some rivers he can bluff. Like maybe if there was a 9, he could bluff with jack-9, rep queen-jack, or rep 7 and get me to fold ace-king. So he has some bluffs, he has some equity, and he puts the other players in a tough spot. So I actually like Henry leading here. You want to run this really quick so they catch up?
Everyone put your fingers into the felt. No? Henry's going to fire?
Bet.
Yeah, sounds like it.
2,500.
It's really great lead.
YouTube channel. Yeah, it's about like,
We got 2 minutes. All right.
Tough spot for Alec.
Yeah, YouTube is really fun.
You got a player behind you.
There's a lot of times where like,
Henry is wide open. Oh, he goes for the raise.
no, it's not.
He goes for the, I'm going to represent absolutely nothing and raise. Raise.
You want to pause it?
Love it.
Start. Yeah, that's fine. And then I'll commentate. We'll wrap up. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. All right. So anyway, I like Henry's raise. I like Henry's lead. Over to me. Again, you got to know your player, man. You got to know the spots. And so we played a lot together. Have a read in the spot. And I've been pulling the trigger lately in these spots where I'm confident. And so I decided to go with it. What hands am I raising here? We can talk about the theory. I can't talk about my read, but we talk about the theory. Like, I'm going to raise here with two pair, if I have king 10, I'm gonna raise. If I have 9-7, I'm gonna raise. If I have a set of 8s or a set of kings, set of 10s, I'm gonna raise. Set of 6s, I'm gonna raise. So like, yes, Henry could have 9-7, and if I raise here, I could be in trouble. But like, you can't just call with like your nutted, like basically close to nutted hands because you're worried about one hand your opponent could have, and you're always gonna let them just, you know, lead you or run, like lead into you or run over you or just like control the tempo of the hand. Like Henry could definitely be leading here with 6-8 or 10-8. So if I had, or maybe king 8. So if I had hands that are better than king 8 or 10-8 or 6-8, like king 10 or a set or a straight, I'm gonna be raising those hands for value. Like you have to raise those hands to balance out your bluffs. What are my bluffs? You know, sort of depends on the situation. I think it's just kind of too hard for me to say even, but I thought there was a decent enough chance that Henry was leading with hands that were not nutted, that raising here made sense. So that's kind of where I'll leave it. Like, it's basically, you got to know the spot. This is a situation where he's repping some pretty strong hands on the turn. He's either repping, he's not really leading here with like, you know, a 10 or like a weak king for value. Like king 7 is not really a value bet here. It's almost like too thin to lead with that hand. So the types of hands, at least I think he's leading with, are like pretty damn strong hands. Like maybe king queen leads here for value like some of the time, but probably like 2 pair or better or a bluff. And so you kind of have to know the situation. You have to know the game flow, stay present, understand where your opponents are likely at in these spots, and then, you know, try and make these deductive reasoning reads using whatever works for you, my hand reading system, or whatever method you use to kind of figure out where your opponents are at. And then if you think they're on the value side, then you maybe just flat with your stronger hands. Maybe even aces is just a flat, or ace king is just a flat, or maybe even like a weak 2 pair, like 10-8. You're like, okay, you know what? I think he's pretty strong here. I'm gonna just flat. But if you think they're on the weaker side, then, you know, the door's open. Like, it doesn't matter what you have that much. It matters what they have. And if you think you're gonna raise and they're gonna fold, then that'll work. As far as sizing, I decided to go 10K here. I don't think making it like 6K makes a lot of sense. It's too easy for him to either call or 3-bet me. And like a lot of the hands he leads with are going to have enough equity to justify calling a small raise. A hand like 10-9 might call, Jack-9 might call, you know, Queen-Jack might call. And then what? I don't really know where I'm at on the river. I don't know what hands he's calling with on turn. And then it costs me more to bluff if I'm raising smaller on the turn. And it's just a worse play. Like, it makes it easy for him to call. And my value hands want to make it big. My bluffs want to make it big. So it doesn't really make sense for me to raise small here. So I think combining the situational awareness with the hand reading system, with the bet sizing tactics, I think are really allowed this hand to play in my favor. And you know, this one went for me. Some go against me, but this time I was right. So feels good. I had a good session. I'm excited for today. Really surreal to play with Moneymaker. We'll probably talk about that. But it's going to be exciting. It's been 20 years since I started playing poker. I can't believe it. 2003, he won the main event. That's when I started playing, and it's just surreal to be here on the big stage with him today. So I'm super grateful for this opportunity. Thank you guys for your support. Check me out on Twitter and Instagram, Alec Torelli. Put out daily content there about poker, decision making, and more. You can learn more about me at consciouspoker.com. And we got the stream coming up next. Stay tuned. It's going to be an awesome night. I'll see you guys there.
Raise it up. Raise it up. Chat Pro.